Experience is what makes a man human. It soothes him, makes him proud and loyal. It matures him. It is the tiredness he feels in his heart, the heart that endures all hardships. It is his respect for his work, the sweat on his forehead. This is him, resilient to life's obstacles, still young in the mind, with a heart that beats only for his loved ones and his work. This is where I'm from. I was born here on March the 1st, 1957. Naturally, sitting here brings back so many memories. Be it the fights and games I shared with my sisters, or the occasional quarrels with my mom, but for the most part I remember my father. He comes to mind the most. My father was an interesting man. He taught us the manners with which to eat, to use the washrooms, how to address the elderly, how to go in and out of the house, what we should pay attention to while crossing someone's property. And he would give us advice on what is religiously prohibited and what is encouraged, as well as the virtue of not lying. We had a furnace in the house, and I would do my homework by that furnace, under a kerosene lamp's light, inside this house. Even as a little boy, Emin Yıldırır had to start planning for his future life, while most children his age went to school and played games afterwards. His struggle in life started at an early age, but it was also at that early age that he knew what he wanted in life. This is my elementary school, Akçakent Village School. I was raised in Akçakent village of Nizip, Gaziantep. I finished elementary school here. After elementary school, there were two options. I would either continue my education or learn a profession. My father didn't want me to be a farmer. Therefore, he wanted my opinion at first. He asked, "Son, do you wish to continue school, or should I sign you up as an apprentice?" I told him that I wanted to continue my education. Even though he had asked for my opinion, he was thoughtful for a while. That was back in 70 and 71, and clashing of right and left wingers, Alawite and Sunite, had already begun. There were riots, uprisings, strikes, people attacked, shot and killed one another. Probably because I was the only son of the family, my father couldn't find it in his heart to send me to school. He said, "Son, there's terror on the streets, with people shooting and killing each other. I don't want to lose you. Although I don't have much, I would be laying everything I have down just to send you to school, but not under these circumstances." So I had no choice but move on to apprenticeship. My father had an uncle Vahit in Nizip, and he went there to talk to him. After that day, my daily walks to and from Nizip began. We gifted life with the lives born within us. Without thinking for a second that I might tire, I wrapped my hopes with paper and painted them white. Where did my gaze wander to? Prone to which date in which city? My eyesight would break during the long walk on the dirt road. My footsteps defied physics. My silence would blend with the quiet of mulberry trees lined up on both sides. How many success stories can one person fit in the life that he has shaped with determination without losing any of his hopes? Well, Emin Yıldırım has fit just that many success stories to his. He found himself as Emin the furniture apprentice around the same time that he realized he could resist neither the harsh truths of life nor his father. Life was hard. Life was merciless, and like many families in Nizip, poverty was pounding hard on the Yıldırım family. My weekly allowance was 5 liras. With that 5 lira, I had to make do for 6 or 7 days. A grilled liver wrap was 1.5 liras, meaning if I had one every day, in 6 days the total would be 9 liras. Therefore, it was not possible to have liver wrap every day. One wrap wouldn't suffice anyway. I would have to pay 3 liras for 2, so I would treat myself to liver wrap once a week, and I really looked forward to it. There's no trace of my childhood left, or of the games I never got to play, the trees I never hid behind for hide and seek. While he dwelled on the childhood he never had, adolescence was already at the door. Master Edip was a man of great discipline. He was strict and had a military face. We used to be scared of him, even be intimidated by him at first, but as years went by and we grew older, we began to realize that he really was a man of values, and that he was setting a fine example for all of us. It was only after many years that we could finally appreciate some of the things he had told us. We were with him for long years, and after a certain point we learned to enjoy working. I don't ever remember him hitting me, but his words felt like a beating. He was a man of few words, to the point, but they always hit the spot. That was the kind of man that he was. It was time to join the military, but he couldn't be happy about it, because the military service meant a lot of time to think about what to do with his life and decide on his career after the military. Such was indeed the case, and Mr. Emin spent every day thinking on his future. Every night has its dawn, he knew, but he still felt lost in a tunnel with no light ahead. In the military, I would think hard while I stood watch. I always thought about how I could open my own business place. My father had nothing, no money, I knew that. But I was determined. I would do whatever it took, pick a slack of rope, go to the mall and work as a porter if need be, and still establish my own work for better or worse. I had this set in stone in my mind. Then my conscription ended and I went back home. After a month passed, my father said, "Son, should we open a place for you, or would you like me to wed you?" And I replied, "Dad, don't wed me just yet. I need work first. Let's get me a business place." He said, "I have saved 21 coins of gold. Your mother has them. Go and get them from her and open a shop." 21 coins make about 7,000 to 8,000 liras today, and I knew that you couldn't do the first thing towards opening a shop with that amount. But the amount really didn't matter, for I suppose he had saved it by reducing his food to mere bread and cheese. Therefore, that money is tenfold more valuable to me than my current business. Then I went to my mom and got the money. Talked to my old friends and we did some planning together. In a small neighborhood, we rented a 100-meter square place as 3 partners and started our first business. Deep down inside, everyone has a secret hideaway. A small but pleasant hideaway where he dreams and gets lost in the dream. Our loneliness is the rain of the world. Our silence is the edge of life. Our pain is the signature of our soul. Our love belongs to waterfalls. This was the hideaway in which Mr. Emin would dream. Even as a young apprentice, when his allowance didn't even cover his lunch, his hideaway was where he shaped all his dreams, starting with dreams about the days when he would have as much jihad as he liked, up to him becoming a successful furniture manufacturer with many accomplishments in his career. We opened our first shop. We waited for months for the initial supplies, so that we could get to make the very first products. Finally, the supplies arrived. We produced, painted, and exhibited the first 20 or so tables. It was a small shop, and the tables were piled up on top of each other. We would stand before them and enjoy looking at them. Still, we had no money, no income, nothing. Obviously, Nizip was a small town. Without many offices, there isn't much demand for office tables. The tables remained. We did sell a few, but nowhere near enough. I suggested to my partners that we should take the tables to bigger cities like Antep and Urfa. But they objected and said, no, we shouldn't. If we go to the clients ourselves, we lose leverage. But the clients don't know that I am here. Let them know where we are and what we do, and we may not go to them afterward. Thus, I ignored them and went to Antep. Due to the financial constraints of 1979, business wasn't very good, but Mr. Emin fought to stand on his feet and managed to sell his first line of office tables. However, Nizip was a small town, and Mr. Emin, sightful as he was aware that the business had to be extended beyond the town. He convinced his partners and made a move in this direction by linking with a shop in Gaziantep. Unfortunately, this partnership wouldn't last long either. After I broke up with my partners, I went to Master Edip. I always asked for his advice in business decisions. He said, what you need is a partner who will provide capital and stay away from the office. You would work freely, and he would only reappear at the end of the year for the annual profit. That's who you need. I know such a man, and I can hook you up with him if you like. We went and met with the guy. He had just invested for a venture, and thus we were out of luck. When we were back, Master Edip said, let's do this together. He was partners with his nephew at the time. I had nothing except for a couple of welders, no capital. I asked Master Edip how we could pull it off. He said he would help in every which way he could. Obviously, I was very happy. I started working with Master Edip, and that partnership lasted for 7 or 8 years. Throughout this time, business was more or less progressive. I was able to buy my first home. I got a cheap car. We installed a new machine at work. Business was good, but after a certain point, it began to get out of control, with me being the producer, buyer, seller, and distributor on my own. There were setbacks, and the job got really tiring. Although I proposed to introduce a new partition of duties and new regulations at that point, I couldn't convince my partners. When I failed, there was no choice but terminate the partnership. Despite his dedication to his work and his ideals, Mr. Emin realized that he just couldn't find the right partners that would meet his expectations. No one could think like him and understand his vision about the future. He decided that there was no point in pursuing his business in Nizip under such circumstances, and went to Izmir to live with his uncle. Here in Izmir, he would go into cleaning substances business with him. However, he would receive a call from Antep that would change his life. His father had had an unfortunate accident and was placed at a hospital in Ankara. Mr. Emin went to Ankara in no time. Heartbreaking news awaited him. His father was paralyzed and in need of constant help. With his father in such a condition, he surely couldn't stay in Izmir any longer. As a result of this unfortunate event, his Izmir venture came to an end even before it began, and returning to Antep, he started a pistachio business, only to discover soon that it was not for him, and he decided to go back to his old profession of furniture. Emin Yıldırır, after these hard times with his new partners, began the preparations for the establishment of Asil Mobilya, the company that would go on to be known later as Eksen Mobilya. I decided to go back to my old line of work, but with my father's illness, the failed pistachio business, going back and forth to Izmir, there had been a significant setback in my finances. The only way out was to bring together capital and labor. So to do that, I decided the right action would be to establish a multi-partner company. I worked my way towards this goal. The process took me 3 to 4 months. I held interviews with 25 to 30 people. After rounds of elimination, I selected 6 of them. 4 of those were craftsmen making furniture or steel appliances like me. Mehmet Marangoz, Ali Marangoz, Mustafa Balcı and Nejat Özal were their names. 2 others sent money from Germany. Those were Kemal Karakaş and Mehmet Kanal. Mehmet passed away a year later. We now carry on with his son, İbrahim Kanal. When we first established the company, we went to Istanbul to buy the missing machinery and stayed there for about a week. We were scanning newspaper ads for the machinery. In the meantime, we ran out of food money. There were times when we had nothing but bread and pop soda, or bread and coke. Finally, we were able to purchase the machinery somehow and return to Nizip. Mr. Emin Yıldırır has demonstrated great achievements that set examples to many people, especially in his business life. We like to mention his success in our chats with people during business trips, organizations, and visitations, every chance we get. When we first began, there were times we would build molds with nothing but sniffers, porter our own products, or deliver by personally carrying them. Since all the partners were craftsmen on their own and had run their own business in the past, everybody was involved in everything. The hardest task is to change people. Man resists change forcefully in every walk of life. We struggled with this for a long time. Nevertheless, our company went a long way during that period. Things went well for 7 or 8 years. In that time, I took night classes. At nights, I tried to learn AutoCAD with bloodshot eyes till many dawns. I wanted to improve myself by taking courses like human resources education and foreign trade. Then I began to consider going abroad. Mr. Emin, having been trying to settle the internal structure of his business for a long time, wanted to go to Germany to observe their progress as a company from a better perspective and to follow up on the technological advancements within the sector. But there was a problem. Germany would deny Mr. Emin a visa and would not say the reason for it. Mr. Emin's patience finally wore thin, and the letter he wrote to the consulate in which he expressed his frustration finally got him a pass to Germany. I was tricked by certain people in my Germany adventure. There was a program I was supposed to attend, and when that was a fiasco, I was left in Germany on my own. I found myself as a man unable to communicate, clueless of where to go, with no plan. I was faced with many hardships. To name one, I was to go to a city 200 to 300 kilometers away to see a particular machine. I took a translator with me and we went together. In the city, I explained which machine I wanted to see to the translator. He told the sellers, but they took me to the wrong machine. I tried again and again, but every time I explained, I ended up before another wrong machine. Finally, I asked for a pen and paper. I drew the machine I did not want and put a cross over that. Near that, I drew the one I did want and put a question mark over it. Those guys went, "Aha, we get it," and took me to the correct machine. I had many similar experiences. Germany gave me a wider perspective, contributed a lot to who I am. When I finally returned from Germany, I knew that I had 103 steps to go, whereas I could only see 3 steps ahead before. On the other hand, it also upset me. Seeing the technology and advancements there, I was upset about the long way we had to go. While trying to put things in order at work, Mr. Emin also put great effort in institutionalizing Asil Mobilya. New departments were established, and the outline of everyone's work was defined according to regulations introduced for this purpose. He has been a trooper, determined and competitive person since he was a boy. We have to nominate successful and liked members of NİZİP to the City Council. In the 1994 elections, we offered Mr. Emin a chair in the council. He didn't accept at first, made us work hard for it, but we wouldn't give him a break and had the chance to finally work with him at the municipality between 1994 and 1999. When the number of employees reached the 80 to 100 range, it became impossible to control the business in the old ways. Since we were brought up in the master-apprentice fashion, we were unable to run our business this way anymore. It was necessary to institutionalize, to brand, and so we contacted the firm that I had received training from in the past. They had a very knowledgeable instructor called Şerif İzgören. After our meeting with him, he visited the company and made inspections in the workplace. Institutionalization began in accordance with his inspections. Steps that have to be taken for institutionalization, like teamwork within departments or performance evaluation, gradually started to take place within our company. Mr. Mehmet Emin Yıldırır is a hard-working entrepreneur, eager to invest and follows up on changing technologies. He is a well-liked fellow businessman who attends domestic and international fairs and puts forth important efforts on creating a vision and a brand. On one hand, training had begun and was making progress. But as everyone knows, the 2000 and 2001 financial crisis struck. When it did, there was already a reaction against the training by the employees. We were having a hard time getting them to cooperate. Making people believe in something new, getting them to accept, is the hardest thing in life. I mean, people resist very strongly against change. When the crisis struck, the resistance grew even stronger. Then came a day when we ran out of money. We laid no one off, but we didn't have money to pay the salaries. I was seriously depressed. Those were really bad times. I was seeing a therapist. The night before the day we would tell the employees that we couldn't pay them, I got no sleep at all. I remember crying that night. What I like best about Mr. Emin is the fact that he has turned his business to a sector in Nizip. From his apprentice years to mastery, Emin has contributed a great deal to the sector of office furniture, namely chairs, tables, sofas in Nizip. He is a friend liked by all, an entrepreneur who creates employment and serves to bring in technology to his business on a daily basis. Along with the new training, there was a significant change in employee attitude and production lines. Team workshops and educational and recreational trips were organized, and employees were rewarded during this time. Along with introducing catalogs, placing advertisements in television, newspapers and magazines had a positive effect on the process. Furthermore, participating in national and international fairs is another positive projection of this process. Emin Yıldırır is now a businessman known not just in Gaziantep but nationwide. After a period of ups and downs, a recovering wave was caught between 2003 and 2004, and Mr. Emin began to feel the change in both the company's economical status and the general attitude of the employees during this time. We started selling to Istanbul in 2005. Since it was quite far, there were complaints about both delivery and logistic issues. So we decided to open a warehouse in Istanbul. We found a place there a month later. Naturally, we had some hardships at first. The problems came from both ends, from incompatible clients and incompatible personnel alike. For the first couple of years, our place in Istanbul made no financial gain. On the contrary, it was losing money. Things stabilized in Istanbul too after the second year, and now we thank God that we put the business on track with Istanbul's most elite office furniture people and a decent personnel. We are now a well-known brand in Istanbul and business is good. After years spent hungry half the time, years of labor finally began to pay off. Eksen Mobilya, creating unique and innovative office furniture for over 20 years, is currently a big firm capable of exporting to Europe and the Middle East with the power of such accumulated labor. Emin Yıldırır is also a person admired for his honesty, intelligence and hard working outside his ever-pressing work pace. I have known Mr. Emin and Eksen Mobilya for about 10 years. From the first day on, the company has been continuously developing, growing in a way unique to itself, and that is, after all, Mr. Emin's personality. His is a company that made a principle of ever improving, quality and efficiency, and has been producing unique products accordingly. In this respect, I consider Eksen to be a company in Turkey that originates from Nizip and is now working to grow and move forward in a national and international scale. I congratulate them on this. Along with will and determination, his innovative and ever open to change personality, he has always set an example to those around him. He did the hard thing, and combining his work with the life that he led according to his ambitious nature, he proved to all that it's possible to do anything even if you start with nothing. All living things will come, die, and pass. But if we can leave something useful to those behind, if we were loved by others and provided them with a decent job and a decent future, these are things that will remain of us. If I have accomplished any of that in my life, it would be the one thing that makes me the happiest.
Beni tek mutlu eden bu olacaktır.